Hola vatos, what's happening? Welcome to MexNotes with your host David. Today we're going to be looking at The Namesake by Jhumpa Lahiri. Summary. We start in India in the 1960s where our vato Ashok is coming back from seeing his grandpa. He's reading a book by Nikolai Gogol. Sure enough, the train crashes and Ashok waves pages around from that book to the first responders and ultimately saves his life. After a few months of healing, he has an arranged marriage with a girl named Ashima, who's muy caliente. They move to the United States, and they get their papers. Don't ask me for mine. 2 years later, their son, Gogol, pops out. A few years after that, their other daughter, Sonia, pops out. Fast forward another few years to when Gogol first starts school in kindergarten. He wants to go by Gogol, but his parents rather have him go by his other name, Nikhil. Fast forward to his 14th birthday, when Ashok gives Gogol the book by Nikolai Gogol. He starts high school and starts committing debauchery with his ex. Going to college parties, he starts to introduce himself by his other name, Nikhil. Fast forward into where he goes to college. After going to Yale for a few years, during Thanksgiving break, his dad tells him the significance behind his name, Gogol. Fast forward another few years, after he gets his degree in architecture, he meets up with his future puta, Maxine. Ashok moves to Cleveland, Ohio for his job. Sadly enough, he ends up dying. Gogol then has to go clean out his apartment, and then when he comes back, he has to do some healing and lives with Ashima. After that, Maxine starts giving him a little grief for staying at home so much with his family. Gogol then dumps her. After healing after the breakup with Maxine, Gogol's mom, Ashima, hooks him up with a muy caliente girl named Mushimi. They end up getting married after hitting it off on their first date. After that, about a year into it, the bota confesses that she's been cheating on him with a miete from France named Pierre. During the holidays is when they really start to have troubles, and they end up splitting after the holidays. While at home, Gogol finds a book by Nikolai Gogol that he never read that his father had given him. He starts to read it and does a little bit of analysis. When the train crashed in the beginning of the book with a choke on it, he waved the pages by Nikolai Gogol. That ultimately saved his life. When at the hospital, when the doctors wouldn't let him leave without naming their child, he felt that that was the right name for Gogol. Hence Gogol. Fast forward a few years, all throughout this time, Ashok and Ashima are having flashbacks to their childhood in India. They compare that to the childhoods that their son and daughter is having back in the United States. And if you look at the traditions that Gogol starts to follow after Ashok's death is significant, cleaning out his dad's apartment, for instance. Throughout the book, not only does Gogol have conflict with his identity, but so does Mushimi. When she was also an Indian descent, but was also growing up in America, then she wanted to lie to her parents when they wanted to major in chemistry. She also double majored in French. So she went to France and picked up a third culture. Ultimately, it screwed everyone up. That's all the time we have for today. Thanks for listening about The Namesake by Jhumpa Lahiri. Personally, I think it was a terrible book. I don't even know why I read it. It's only because Miss Sherwood wanted us to. It was completely terrible. No one even understood it. Just overall bad. Never again.